Hey, this is Mike. Thank you so much for choosing this video. Tonight we're checking out a 2022 Genesis G70 at night. So this video focuses on the interior and exterior lighting of the vehicle. Check my channel for the full overview and test drive videos. So first I want to point out that you can turn off all the exterior lights when the vehicle is running by turning the headlight switch off and engaging the parking brake. There's a button on the key that looks like a little light, and when the vehicle's locked and parked, as you're approaching it, you press and hold that button to turn on the exterior lights. So this could be a safety feature, so you can illuminate the area around the vehicle before you actually get to it. And you can do this from a pretty great distance. And you just press the button again to turn them off. As you approach the vehicle when it's turned off with the key, it will sense the key at a certain point and turn on approach lights. So as you get close to it, you can see that handle illuminates and it shines a puddle light, which also has the Genesis badging on it. And that shines down from the side mirror. When you have the engine running and the headlight switch to the completely off position, without the parking brake on, it'll have these very bright LED daytime running strips on, and they are quite bright. This is the only illumination on the exterior of the vehicle right now, and that is these lights here on the front. There's no lights in the back, there's no side markers, anything like that. Now I have the parking lights on, and the parking lights dim the daytime running lights. So these white strips here in the front are now much dimmer, but it adds a side marker, an amber side marker now is now illuminated. And the tail lights are now on. And they wrap around the side of the vehicle, so they kind of serve as a side marker as well as a tail light. But they're very nice, very bright, sharp red LEDs back here. The camera kind of makes them look a little orangey, but they are a deep red. The LED tag lights are now illuminated as well, and they also illuminate the ground a little bit. The turn signal indicator, basically here in the front, just replaces those daytime running lights with an amber, a very bright amber light. You can see it from the front and the side. There's also a turn signal indicator here on the side mirror. That's visible from the front, the side, and the rear. The tail light turn signal is a red, two red strips, very similar to the front, and they're in the middle part of the tail light. Now I have the low beams on, and it's a quad projector LED headlight system. And you can see that it actually shines light from both the top and the bottom, even with the low beams are on. I'm going to show you what it looks like going down the road, but this is what it looks like right now in the parking lot with the low beams. And then there's the high beams. There's low beams, and then there's high beams. Now the high beams, there's no new light on. It just refocuses the light, the quad projectors that are already there, in a higher position and more of a flood position, especially that lower light. You can see that lower one is the one that's, you can see it's much brighter and refocused up. Take a look at the trunk light, and the trunk light is actually two lights, and they're LEDs, one on each side, and they do a pretty decent job. I have a bunch of stuff back here, and you can see there's no shadowing going on much at all. Since there's two lights, it's able to kind of extend to the far left and the far right decent enough to where you can see in here. Now, you know, there could be improvements, but I think this is adequate trunk lighting for sure. The inside of the back door only has one light, and that is the little indicator for the power windows, so just so you can see where the power window is. Other than that, there's no pocket lights or puddle lights or anything like that. The back seat area is illuminated by these LEDs here in the center, 2 of them. And they do a pretty decent job of illuminating the seats. And not so much the back, but usually this is the area in which you need light, in your lap area and the floorboard as well. And even with the black interior, it does a pretty decent job because of the brightness of the lights. The inside of the driver's door has backlit illuminated buttons here for the power windows, door locks, side mirror controls, and the presets for the seats. But there's no pocket lighting or anything like that. There's no puddle light. The only type of puddle light is that Genesis badging, but that's only when you unlock the doors. It's not showing now when I open the door like this and the vehicle's running. And the front lighting is very similar to the back, in which there's LEDs there in the center, and there's 2 of them and they shine in. And there's a little bit of an overlap between the front and back, and it does a pretty decent job of illuminating the front seats and center area. The floorboard also has illumination when you have the interior lights on, but when you drive, these floorboard lights turn off. Okay, so I'm sitting in the driver's seat. I got the door open so you can see what the interior lights look like before I shut the door. Alright, so I shut the door. Now we're left with floorboard illumination right now, and which is nice. It's nice and bright. You can see in your feet anyway, and it just kind of gives you a nice feeling having lights in dark areas, you know. And then you have some backlit illuminated buttons here on the steering wheel. Now the gauge is half screen, half regular gauge. It looks good. And you can adjust the brightness. So that's the lowest. I'll raise it up. That's the highest. Put it right there. Alright, and then the screen looks great at nighttime. Even the backup camera and the camera system. Then backlit buttons here. Climate control. There's a pocket right here though. Let me go ahead and turn the interior lights on so you can see there's this pocket here. There's backlit buttons here. I mean the charge port and, is illuminated, but this pocket is not. This area right here is dark. So when I turn off the light, you can kind of see there's no light or anything right here. Now there is some ambient light coming down from up here, this area, and it comes down and illuminates a little bit like a very soft moonlight in this area. It's hard for the camera to pick it up. Let me go and adjust the brightness up a little bit. Yeah, so this is much brighter than my eyes would see it, but just to give you an idea of the just a little bit of ambient light, which is good, especially when it's super dark out. So then there's some backlit buttons here. Cup holders are dark, so it's a good thing that ambient light's here. And the center console is also dark. Let me turn the interior lights on so you can see what I'm talking about. There's this console pocket, and there's a USB that's backlit, but there's no lights inside this compartment. So when I turn the lights out, interior lights out, I can't see in this compartment. There is a light in the glove compartment, nice bright light too. So we do have some reading lights, and they illuminate basically lap area, and it's nice and bright. Same thing on the passenger side, so they got their light here. The visors, when you open up the mirror, there's a light that turns on, which is nice and bright. Same thing on the passenger side. And once again, I have the brightness on the camera a little bit higher than what it would actually look like in real life, just so you can see in here a little bit. The heads-up display is Very nice. It's a bright, but it's not overly bright, so at nighttime it's fine. So let's go ahead and just kind of get a first-person view of those headlights. So there's low beams, high beams. So there's low beams, high beams. So here's the pattern against some trees right here. So you can see that it's a clear cutoff. So you can see the cutoff right there. And then when I put the high beams on, it adds that additional light there in the center, but the cutoff is still there on the sides. The brightness of the light is fantastic. The way the pattern is really good. The only problem is that I think this particular vehicle has the adjustments a little bit too high, so sometimes it'll blind other drivers if I'm not on level ground. But the whole intention of the low beams is to have a little bit of a dip on the left side, just to kind of help avoid blinding oncoming traffic. But it still does it on this particular car because it's just not adjusted quite right. It's close, but it's not quite adjusted right. And the automatic high beams work pretty decent. They do a pretty good job. I would say about 85-90% of the time they dim and they turn back on when appropriate. So yeah, you can see that it's a really good headlight system, especially the high beams like this on this dark road, and even on the low beams it does a decent job. It does a really good job, actually. This is a really good headlight system. And there's no active bending or anything like that. Although with the adjustments on the headlights, probably auto leveling would be good. But it just illuminates everything in front of you. Let's see, yeah, it dimmed the light. And it projects the light quite far down the road, and it's relatively even light. You can see hopefully those trees in the back, and that far distance is illuminated, and I could just see really good.